Continue our story after Antarcus. Yep, that is going to be his name now, and I love it. Antarcus actually gets finished laying down the Leviathan on Freya. And Freya's like, wow, you were really pent up for all those years, huh? Yeah. I mean, being sealed away for a couple hundreds, if not possibly thousands of years can leave a beast kind of I guess you could say, needing, if you will. To which Freya laughs at this and, does the little circle on his chest and stuff like that and says, I'm glad you're back. To which he says he's happy too. However, this is where they hear a squeal, a blood-curdling one, as Freya's like, oh my gosh, Hildy, who? Arntarchus goes, he's like, who? Oh, my pig, my friend. And so this is where he comes like screeching at Freya's door, and they both simply look out. Keep in mind they're fully clothed at this point, if not armored up. And Freya says, oh, great, you two. What do you want? Into which they simply state, you're Leviathan. Odin simply sent us to escort him back to his resting place. And so Antarchus walks out, full armor and everything, and simply asks, really? Y'all really want to do the All-Father's dirty work today? Are y'all sure y'all want this fight? To which Magny brandishes his sword, unaware of the literal levels between this. And keep in mind, Odin sending them is more or less like a I don't care kind of moment, considering he does know better. And Freya simply states, I could easily kill these two, and you could relax. However, Antarcus simply states, no, he wants to do this himself. It's been a while since he's killed gods. And so this is where he tackles Magny and Modi and drags them through a blue portal as Freya simply watches with amusement. And so this is where they head into a water realm, a pocket dimension, infinite in size and full of storms, raging seas, and everything. Lightning hits certain parts of the water and magnifies a coral reef and stuff like that. But this is where we see Modi. And he's scared. He's afraid. He's at the top of the water, walking on it. But it seems like a fragile slip if he tries to move. And this is where Antarcus shows up in his Leviathan form. And he simply asks, are you afraid, little god? To which Modi goes, where am I? What have you done with my brother? Don't worry about it. He'll get his comeuppance very soon. But welcome to my realm. Something I haven't been able to access in a while because I was frozen by your grandfather. I want you to understand something. And Modi goes, what's that? You Aesir always think you're the dominant life forms, the dominant species. But my kind exist here, far away from Odin's grasp. And I, little Asgardian, little Aesir, am the ruler of these waters, given to me by another god from another pantheon. Modi tries to utilize the electricity of his weapon, but he can't. And he sinks below the water as he says, wait, you can't leave me. Oh my god. And comes face to face with a ghost Leviathan. Modi screams underwater as he tries to swim, now unable to get to the surface, unaware that he was only allowed to stand there because Antarcus had him do it. And so he tries to swim for his life, still finding some way to breathe underwater. But again, I guess you could say Antarcus would allow that as well. But as the ghost Leviathan closes in on him, he screams with everything he's got as the creature opens its mouth and consumes him. We then head over to Magny, who's seemingly waking up and seeing a bunch of people, creatures, people he thought would never exist, mermaids, Atlanteans, a barbaric set of people, he simply states. Who dares to trap me here? And keep in mind, Magny actually tries to step foot and tries to go up to them, but he feels like he's being anchored down and left there. He can only walk around a certain distance. And this is where the chief of the people simply, goad him. And I guess you could say throw food or whatever they can at him, calling him a horrible god, a false god. To which Magny says he is the son of Thor. What makes him think, and this is where someone appears behind him, and Tarkus does. And he simply states, well, I rule them. I'm their god. I gave them a home. I gave them culture. I gave them livelihood. All I ask is that they worship me. By the way, the beast behind me, and this is where it would pan out to Cleffy, the Deep Claw. This is my strongest creature down here. He's quite hungry, mind you. Hasn't gone hunting just yet, and so here you are to fight him. And this is where Magny simply states, you wouldn't. And to which he simply states, I want you to think about all the people your father and your brothers have slaughtered. Ask me then if I wouldn't. And he simply snaps his fingers and states, go ahead, boy. He's all yours. And Cleffy's giant claw grabs Magny as he tries to stab him, but he brings him closer to his mouth. And all you can hear is Magny screaming as his body is ripped apart. And keep in mind, Cleffy's a crab, a crustacean. So you know how they eat. They rip their prey apart and just eat it over and over again, not caring if it's alive. So that's kind of what's happening to Magny, unfortunately. And so as pretty much he leaves through the portal, Freya says, so, how was it? To which Tarkus says, oh, it was actually wonderful. I didn't expect him to scream as much considering they were Thor's children, but I guess all those rumors I heard all those years ago before I got sealed were actually true. What a horrible father. And this is where Freya says, yeah, want to look over there? And to which he turns around and sees the world serpent. And he's like, wait, wow. So that's what yes, that's actually what it looks like. That is the world serpent. The one that fought Thor. The one that shook the realms. And this is where he's a bit flabbergasted about it. He's never seen anything that was larger than him in his Leviathan form. And he's like, so it's just standing there. To which Freya says, yes, apparently Kratos and Atreus have summoned it for whatever reason, I'm not sure. And so this is where they see a thunk on the world serpent. And they're like, wait, what the? You saw that? To which Tarkus is like, yeah, I saw that. But then they see it again. Boom. Something rocks the world serpent and it flings to the other side. And Tarkus is like, okay, I don't see Thor. So what the heck is going on? Why isn't it defending itself? And this is where upon the third hit, they both see kind of like Atreus and Kratos being spat out. This is where the world serpent simply falls. And Tarkus is absolutely shocked. Horrified even. He never thought anybody in all of his years would just knock out an entire beast of this kind of magnitude. And he's thinking like, oh my god, what the heck is that? But as they go over, this is where they do encounter Balder trying to fight Kratos and Atreus again. And this is where he's like, oh, okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. Hero thought I was actually worried about something. However, this is when Tarkus knows the skies begin to kind of churn, if you will, and electricity begins to crackle. And this is where he decides to place Balder in a water bubble. And, well, kind of just leaves him there for a minute as Freya and Kratos do, talk about it for a bit. He's not trying to drown Balder, by the way. But if Balder does try to, resist it, he will get crushed. He'll live, but it'll be a painful one. And this is where Atreus simply states, wow, that's actually kind of cool. And does anybody else notice the sky is kind of getting violent? And while Tarkus does, hear Atreus, he is talking to Freya. You understand what may have to be done. She says, I know. I'm not going to sit by and let him kill you. She says, I know. It's just, look, it's your decision, but I can't allow that to happen. However, this is where a full lightning bolt comes down from the sky, and Antarctus is forced to throw Balder back into the water where he came from. Now, he does get back up, but he's hit full force with a lightning strike, and it only brings him down to a knee. And this is where he shouts to the sky, you're going to have to do far better than that. And this is where he is bum rushed and dragged off by Thor. And he says, where are my sons? And to which Antarctus is like, oh, so you care about them now? You didn't care about them with your daddy actually send them after me now, did you? To which he tries to grab him by the throat, but Antarctus removes his hands as if it was nothing, and then simply, like, I guess you could say, like, seismic tosses him right into the ground as he basically jumps off of Thor's giant belly and turns into his Leviathan state. And simply states, you want to see what happened to your sons? Okay, here. And this is where he opens a portal and shows their corpse. Magny, half eaten and half, still paralyzed or alive, if you will. And as he hits the ground, he does die at that point. And then there's Magny, shriveled up and drained of his nutrients, considering the fact that I think that's how ghost leviathans actually would eat their prey. But again, it's very possible that he could have just hit the digestive tract as well. So yeah, they're looking worse for wear. They're dead at that point. And this is where Thor says, you killed them. How dare you kill my boys? And to which this is where Leviathan looks down on him and simply states, really, and how many innocents have you killed, hypocrite? And to which Thor rushes at him angry, swinging the hammer, and actually they get into a fight similar to what Amatsu and Zenogre pulled off, except it's a very drastic size difference, Yes, Thor is able to get on top of Leviathan and wail on him for a little bit, but he's eating this, he's enjoying this, and this is where he decides to take advantage, biting on Thor's midsection, throwing him up, tail slapping him around, bombarding him with water geysers and water tornadoes, and just simply turning Thor into a pinball before he coils his massive body around him and plunges him right into the depths, then comes right back up, spins around, and again, he's just finessing Thor at this point just because he can, because he wants to, because he hasn't done this in a while. It feels good to fight him before slamming him down onto a large plateau, and he looks down on him. And this is where he talks to him. He simply states, every giant you slayed has always been out of malicious intent, of your racial glorification, because you hated people that could have been more powerful than you. Remember that four-armed one that surrendered, that you were scared of? You were such a coward that you couldn't face him in a direct fight, so you waited until he was weakened and he was halfway dismembered in order to fight him. And keep in mind, your sons were no better. Matter of fact, you were no better as a parent, raising them with a drunken fist instead of a compassionate heart. And Thor goes, how dare you tell me how to raise my sons? And to which he simply states, they weren't even great. To which, Antarctus simply states, they weren't good products of your raising, now are they? I wonder if you have any other children. You and Sif are horrible parents, always raising your children to be, warriors? But look at them. They were bullies, nothing more. Imagine if I hadn't been here, what they would have done. Bullying Atreus or possibly Kratos, being sent to the All-Father's work because you can't stand up for yourself. You can fight everything else you want, but you can't stand up to your dear old dad. Thor then lunges at him, but Leviathan moves out the way and tail smacks him like a child. And he says, look at you, angry and looking for a justification to kill. And to which this is where Thor simply states he'll raise his entire species to the ground. To which he says, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. What happens when you don't get your way? You go a genocidal route. You didn't care about the children of the giants you killed. What about the children of the mortals you killed? The entire family that invited you in? Oh, come on now, Thor. We both know good and well you're the real monster here. I killed your sons out of self-defense. They pulled up on me and my beloved during our canoodling time. And yet here you are, trying to avenge their deaths. You're no warrior. You're no father. You're an angry child trying to be a man. And Thor lunges at him with everything he's got, trying to crack Mjolnir across his face. However, the Leviathan simply stands there and he tanks it. But this is where their fight is cut short when he hears a wailing scream. And he simply tells Thor, go home and be an actual father, before going off and finding Freya, wailing and screaming over Baldur's corpse. You see, the same fight would have still happened in the original, and he simply holds Freya close, and she holds on to him tightly, and he says, what happened? What happened? And to which Kratos simply states, while you were fighting Thor, he tried to kill her. We did so do him at first. We tried to reason with him, but he left me no choice. And that's where I'm going to leave it off here, you guys. What do you guys think about Antarcus versus Thor? How do you feel about Antarcus lecturing Thor as well about not only being a bad parent, but also being a petty and vindictive warrior? And what's going to happen from here on out when Odin finds out that not only did Thor lose, but his sons are dead as well? Be sure to comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends, and I'll see you guys for the next video.